First, for the superlatives, little enunciation there, we're going to go with your favorite picks, guys. So, EJ, you first. Who was your favorite overall pick in the Patriots draft class?
It was Drake Maye. And the Patriots basically listened to everybody saying, our team's not ready enough for a QB. Okay, bet. We'll see about that. We think he's good enough. So love the confidence. We'll find out. But I really can't hate the sort of line in the sand. This is what we're going to do, and we're going to do it this way. There's two different schools of thought about how to do it. Patriots said, we think Drake Maye is good enough to get the quarterback first and build around him. We'll see how that goes. He's got plenty of skills, and now it's a race, right? It's a race to surround him with enough talent. And again, like you said, have the coaching staff develop him before that rookie window runs out in the contract, because that is one of the greatest advantages in any sport going right now is a rookie quarterback contract in the NFL. And so, it's pedal to the metal. It's got to be. You got to get as many players, as many ways as you can. And Maye's got to hold up his end, and we'll see how it goes. But it was mostly the confidence of the Patriots not saying, oh, okay, you're all right. We need tons of picks. We'll just go down the board and pick up a bunch of other guys. Brett said it earlier in draft season. History's littered with a lot of teams that took the picks and screwed it up. So they took the shot. It's a bold gambit, and we'll see how it works out. But I think as a Patriots fan, you got to love that. They're not conceding anything.
Yeah, listening to the comments after the draft where Mayo and Wolf were pretty clear that, we knew for a while that we were going to get Drake. We never got an offer that we really considered moving. He was our guy. Though they were clear they liked all three of the top quarterbacks, which is fair. They were all super talented. I am curious. There are a lot of factors that go into it, so no one's holding you to this. But what do you think Drake Maye's timeline could be in terms of potentially getting on the field? Obviously, with Jacoby, there's no rush. He can take as much time as he needs. But I also think you saw at UNC how productive and deadly he could be despite having so little talent around him. And I think at the very least, the Patriots have enough NFL talent where he's not going to be out there running for his life or thrown into contested windows all the time. I feel like they could take some of that off his plate with the scheme and with the personnel.
Yeah, I'd agree. It's probably going to be a short leash for Jacoby. He's not going to be able to take too many missteps. He better keep those ankles healthy, because anytime he sits on the bench, if Drake comes in and provides a spark, the Patriots are going to go, you know what? This is a good chance to get plenty of reps. Let's go.
I would say, because my favorite pick is obviously Drake Maye as well. Spoiler alert, right?
We have a consensus.
To add on to that, and to add on to your follow-up, the reason why I was super high on Drake Maye, and why, if I was the Patriots, and it kind of took me a while to get there because I wanted to get through the whole class, and early on I advocated for maybe you do the Marvin thing and then you try to come back. And ultimately, I landed on, if Drake's there, you take Drake. And the reason why is I went to the Caleb Williams Pro Day with EJ. He came down to LA. We went up to Caleb's Pro Day, and there we met Caleb's quarterback coach, Will Hewlett, who also had Tom Gomerly there, who's, I don't even know how best to describe Tom, biomechanics expert / physical therapist one
of those.
One of those, right? Who's like a quarterback guru and a trainer all in one. Imagine Alex Guerrero, but more. He's the guy behind the guy behind the guy, right? And they also happen to work with Anthony Richardson, and they also happen to work with Brock Purdy. And I had a very long conversation with them about Brock when EJ and I saw him at the Shrine Bowl a couple of years ago, and he did not look good at all, right? And then, I saw him 5 months later at the 49ers training camp, where I was like, oh my God, he's the best quarterback on the field. What the hell? And I didn't know that he was working with these guys, right? And what I had found out through that conversation was that they tore down and rebuilt his mechanics in about 2 months, in between where he was at the Shrine Bowl to where he was at the NFL draft. And of course, the 49ers took note of that, and they really liked Brock to begin with. They liked his process, everything like that. They added, through this training, they added 10 miles per hour to his passes in 2 months. They just did the same thing to Austin Reed too, who's now going to be the QB3 in Chicago. They picked him up as UDFA. He went from, I think it was 50 or 51 to the low 60s in about 2 months of working with them. And they were going through, what they teach mechanically, and how college quarterbacks maybe don't get properly coached on a lot of things in terms of like repeatable mechanics under both stress and non-stress within the pocket. How the feet and the hips are linked together with the core and everything like that. And how a lot of these guys, they don't really find out how to throw until they get to the NFL when they can afford all these, private coaches, because NFL staffs are not teaching them how to throw. NFL staffs are worried about like install and stuff like that. Like you got to figure out all the mechanic stuff on your own. And so I looked at Drake Maye and I was like, okay, yeah, mechanically he's flawed, but now he's not working with Will and Tom. He's working with others, but there's a bunch of people in this space that do that kind of thing. And so, I had a conversation with them. I was like, is Drake fixable? They're like, yeah, Drake's fixable. It takes like one off season. Like you can fix that. They just have to be willing to do it. And I think Drake is. And so I care a lot less about talented but mechanically flawed quarterbacks now, because there's a whole cottage industry of people dedicated to fixing mechanically flawed quarterbacks. And once that stuff is fixed, that's how you end up with Brock Purdy in the MVP race. That's how you end up with Josh Allen. That's how you end up with all these guys that came out of nowhere and all, got good. I mean, that's how they get good is they discard everything they learned in college. They completely rebuild and retool themselves. I don't see how Drake Maye couldn't be another one of those. And if you get a really consistently good, from a mechanics perspective for Drake Maye with that much talent, like, yeah, that's going to work. It's going to work really well. So I'm all about it. I think it was a great pick.
Testing my skills on Prize Picks this season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $1,000 with just a few taps. Use the code CLNS for the first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Especially when you see how often he can make those pinpoint throws and the like crazy arm strike and everything, just off vibes. Like everything's out of whack. His hips are here, his eyes are there. And it's just like, oh yeah, no, it's still on the money with like amazing arm talent. Yeah. Okay. We know that at least if he is consistent, he'll be great. But what's really going to push him over the edge is the fact that things can be going terribly and you still get that level of talent shining through. Also, funny you mentioned Brock Purdy, because Joe Milton actually said, he was asked like who he kind of models his game after. He said he didn't really model it after anybody, but in terms of footwork, he watched Brock Purdy. So I thought that was really interesting. And also in this Alex Van Pelt offense, that's why Drake Maye also my favorite pick for what it's worth. Pretty easy one there. In Alex Van Pelt's offense, how you mentioned, NFL staffs aren't really fixing your mechanics. It's mostly about strategy and preparing for the next week. With Van Pelt, he has a very specific way of doing things where he says in the shotgun, I want your left foot up because I want it to be more like Mozart, not like Metallica and the quick game and all these things. So he's going to have someone who in season can make sure that he's got these things down and is doing it in a repeatable way, especially in that West Coast offense where the timing and the rhythm are so important. So, yeah, I agree. You hope that all those things will get worked out, but if the biggest error is something that all these people who are much smarter than me are saying is repeatable, I'm all right with that.
Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS and get $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices, guaranteed.